Hi, this is my personal Major Arcana stack, or my memorized Major Arcana. I created this for myself because I was unhappy with the available Major Arcana stacks. For example, the one by Stephen Minch in his Book of Thoth that is based on size Stebbins. Or the others that are based on 8 kings or some other mathematical principle, or incorporate the whole deck. I'm not interested in the whole deck in my close-up performances. I think the Major Arcana is enough for people who are not familiar with the tarot cards, and mostly in the close-up walk-around environment I perform in. So, my deck is not based on mathematics. It is actually based on a story, and the story is linked to the order of the cards, which makes it very simple to remember the order. I will now in a minute go through the story and the order of the deck at the same time, so you can see the link between them. And it's so easy essentially that when I will go through it a second time, or would go through it a second time, that you should be able to tell the order in parts already, and if you go through it 2 or 3 times, you should be completely able to use the stack. Yeah, it's that easy. So I will now go through my story, and at the same time through the deck, and you will see the link of the story and the deck, because they are very, very obvious. So let's start. The world and the moon surround the sun like 2 lovers would with the biggest star of our universe. I am the magician who tells fortune to the emperor and his empress, who live alone in their tower with their fool, like hermits. There were times of strength and temperance, where the judges spoke justice, and there was no hanged man anywhere in the country. That was before the chariot arrived, with the high priestess and the hierophant, who brought the devil and death. So, that is the story. And that was the order of the deck. So the cards do not appear in any way ordered. There's no mathematics behind this. They look really shuffled, but they are in an order that I can not possibly forget, because the story sticks with you. It really does. If I would start again, for example, and say the world and you will most likely remember that this is the moon that surround the, of course, sun, like 2 lovers. You may remember that. And yeah, now we could go on through the star and so on. Now, for this as a stack, you can use this in multiple ways. There's the covered use and the story use, like storytelling deck use. I use both of that. I will show you first the covered use. I mean, it's very simple. You just let them take any card. Let's say this one. Then you glimpse the bottom card. You see the magician, and you know that the magician tells fortune. So this is the Wheel of Fortune, and it is. This is the very simple covered use of this. You can, of course, make this more complicated and integrate a routine and add story and something, but this is just the basic use. Now, the other thing that is possible, that I really like in the right circumstances, is using that stack as a storytelling deck. And now, of course, you could take it out and just tell the story, as I did a moment ago. But you also can make this a bit more magical, because I think taking it out, telling the story is engaging, and it is a performance piece, I believe, and I possibly have done and will do it again, to just tell the story when the mood is right. But you can make this in a magic routine if you give out the cards to shuffle like this, and because they are big and chunky, the lay audience is not able to shuffle them in another way. And if you show them once, they will just go with it and shuffle them like this, what essentially isn't shuffling because it is cutting. And this keeps the deck in order, it just changes the starting point. So we are now at the Lovers. We know that the stack has 4 parts to the story. I will shortly show you that before we will go in the storytelling deck. So we have 4 parts to our story. That's very important to remember. So it is the world and the moon surround the sun like 2 lovers would the biggest star. Bam. That's story number 1. Story part number 2 is I am the magician who tells fortune to the emperor and his empress who live in that tower with their fool like hermits. So this is story part number 2. Story part number 3 is the one that starts with strength and temperance, and the judges who spoke justice, and there was no hanged man in the country. This is the part number 3. And story part number 4 is the chariot who arrived with the high priestess and the hierophant that brought the devil and death. So you have essentially 1, 2, 3, 4 parts to your storytelling deck, and the order is not important at all. You just have to get the transitions right. I won't go into that whole thing now. I just want to show you the possibility of this. So you give it out for mixing, and they mix the deck like this a few times. You get it back. You now glimpse at the bottom card, and I mean, I see here now that here's the magician, so I know this is the second part of the story, but I have the Wheel of Fortune here. So to tell this story, I will just get this transferred. I do it in an offbeat moment, or when there are more cards I have to transfer, simply in a cutting motion. And now I can start here. Which is actually a wonderful start when you can start with I am the magician who tells fortune to the emperor and his empress living alone in the tower with their fool. And you can go on, of course, now like hermits, and now would come the second part. Why is this misery? Or what was in the past? In the past there was strength and temperance, and the judges spoke justice. And now you say why this world isn't anymore, and they are now living alone. And you start with when the the hanged man comes first, and then you start with the chariot arrived with the high priestess and the hierophant who brought the devil and death. But this all doesn't matter in the end, because after all, the world and the moon turn around the sun like 2 lovers would with the greatest star in our universe. So this is essentially my memorized Major Arcana. I use this now for approximately 1.5 years, and I want to share it now with some selected few of our art, so I can get feedback to wrap this thing finally up and make it the final one. So if you have anything to say, please reach out to me and give your comment. Feel free to try this out. If you have more questions, message me. I really want all the feedback you can possibly give me or want to share. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope we see you soon.